Episode 2, entitled Mr. October, picks up with Joe searching the wreckage of the Maginot for survivors, his mercenary escort in tow. And as they search the wreckage, they find dead bodies, with Joe ascertaining the cause of death, eventually making their way into the building. Once inside the building, Joe and his pair of mercs finally come face to face with the Xenomorph, which chases Joe through the building until he narrowly escapes its wrath via an elevator, wherein he tries to call for help to no avail. Now, back in Neverland, Dame Silver reviews the children's interviews, and she and Boy have a conversation about AI becoming smart enough to do away with humanity. Dame seems most interested in making life better for humanity with the technology they're using, while Boy simply wants to talk to someone smarter than him. Now, later in the episode, Yutani calls him in an effort to get her cargo back, but Boy has plans of his own for the haul. Meanwhile, Wendy and her Lost Boys make their way to New Siam to rescue her brother, and when they land, they are briefed, and Wendy searches the monitors and eventually finds her brother. Once inside the Maginot, Kirsch and the rest of the Lost Boys come across dead bodies and some animals that escaped their enclosures during transit, while Wendy and Slightly search for Joe. We do find Joe making his way through the halls of the building, and he stumbles upon an apartment wherein rich people are having a dinner party. The Xeno shows up, killing everyone except Joe, who is saved at the last second and then subdued by my man Morrow, who is still looking to secure the location for Wayland Yutani. Morrow entraps the Xeno in a cocoon of sorts and drags it away, but in the hall he runs into more prodigy security, and they try to arrest him for trespassing, but the Xeno wakes up, escapes the cocoon, and kills one of them as the rest run away. The Xeno then approaches Morrow, but for whatever reason decides not to kill him, and instead chases down the remaining security guards and kills them instead. And this plot point didn't really make sense to me, because this is the same Xeno that tried to break into Morrow's pod on the ship in a dizzying frenzy, but now that it has him dead to rights, it can't be bothered? I don't know. Anyway, Joe wakes from his coma and wanders into a room in the apartment containing a Reggie Jackson baseball from the World Series of 1977. When he touches it, a video starts depicting the game-winning home run, and as he watches it, Wendy appears behind him with Slightly in tow. Wendy quickly explains that they are synthetics before Kirsch calls them back to the ship to secure the cargo, and as they leave, she asks Joe to come with them. They make their way back to the front of the ship, and Slightly lets it slip that Wendy is Joe's sister. Joe and Wendy then have a heart-to-heart that ends in a sweet embrace. And as the group enters the ship, they find several eggs, and as they stand there examining them, the Xeno quickly makes its way back towards the nest, tackles Joe, and the pair fall through an opening in the ship's side. Wendy then tells Slightly to stay there and follows behind him, and that's how the episode ends. Now, from a narrative standpoint, the last few scenes of the episode contain the most impactful ones. This is the part of the episode that really features what this story is about: a sister being reunited with her brother and having to fight for his life. Now, overall, I give the episode a 70% or a 7.0 if you're thinking IMDb score. This episode played a bit more like an Alien movie, which kind of ushered in a real sense of what the rest of the season will probably look like. I'm still curious as to how 6 more hours of content will affect the story overall, but I am interested to see it play out. And I haven't made my mind up just yet as to whether or not this was a good idea, but I'm sure by the time we make it to the midpoint, I'll know one way or the other. Either way, I thought this episode was fairly decent.